Well, good morning, Sun lovers. This is George McClellan and George's Hour at FetchYourNews.com, North Georgia's only live internet talk show. I can be reached at 706-889-9700, or you can email me, George at FetchYourNews.com. Well, I had a good weekend. It was a wet weekend up here in the North Georgia mountains. Probably most all of Georgia's wet. We expected more coming in right now. And this afternoon we'll get another inch or two, and I suspect that one of these days some bureaucrat will say, oh, I think it's probably the drought is over and we can lift the burning ban and we can go back to lighting our fireplaces outside and our fire pits and that sort of thing. The news, right now the news is all about, the national news is all about what Trump says, who Trump talks to, what Trump tweets. And it's just, a lot of it is fake. And I don't get all excised in it, particularly the vote count. The vote count by Dr. Jill Stein, what a sham that is. I've already talked about that. But I want to share with you some figures that came in that are interestingly pertinent to the vote count and will give us readers a pause. For example, in the United States, now pay attention, this could be a test question. In the United States, there are 3,141 counties. 3,141 counties in the United States. Trump won 3,084 of them. Clinton won the other 57. There are 62 counties in New York State. Trump won 46 of them. Clinton won 16. Clinton won the popular vote by approximately 1.5 million votes. In the 5 counties that encompass New York City, and that would be the Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Richmond, and Queens, Clinton received well over 2 million more votes than Trump. And Clinton only won 4 of those counties. Trump won Richmond. Therefore, these 5 counties alone more than accounted for Clinton winning the popular vote of the entire country. Just those 4 counties alone. These 5 counties comprise 319 square miles. The United States is comprised of 3,797,000 square miles, and of course I understand this has absolutely no pertinence to the question of votes, but it's interesting data anyway. When you have a country that encompasses almost 4 million square miles of territory, it would be ludicrous to even suggest that the vote of those who inhabit a mere 319 square miles should dictate the outcome of a national election. Large, densely populated democratic cities, New York City, of course, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, Seattle, don't and shouldn't speak for the rest of the country, which is why the Founding Fathers created the electoral vote. It's a wonderful mechanism. It prefers justice and harmony, and we don't get that. They demanded Trump, of course, the left, demanded that Trump agree to the results of the election. And he said, we'll see what the election's about, and then I may agree. Well, they haven't agreed, and they're out in the street rioting, and we see all that now. I'm going to get into that. We have several things that are interesting to talk about, but first, let's talk about Trump's cabinet picks. And I did some research, and my research was completed before today's news that Ben Carson has been picked as a cabinet position to lead the housing and urban development. So I have no comment on Ben Carson except that he's a great man, smart man, wonderful doctor, a skilled surgeon, and as far as I know, nothing against him, except he is so soft-spoken, he might get run over. That's the only thing I could say. I hope that is not true. However, let's look at what characters are now in the lineup. Of course, Chief of Staff, the Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus. There's nothing conservative about this fellow. He's a party hack and an establishment GOP through and through. He's the old school. However, he saw the writing on the wall, the populism that pushed Trump to the fore, and he joined on that, and he stayed loyal to Trump. So I'll give him credit for that. While chairman of the Wisconsin Republican Party, Reince Priebus, I'm talking about, became an intimate of Representative Paul Ryan, who was our Speaker of the House. Not condemning that. They both live in the same state and they're both politicians. Okay, fair enough. But Paul Ryan is a big government globalist who believes in the open borders, amnesty, and supporting fake conservative candidates, and a big supporter of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Follow the money. Always follow the money. So there's a string there that can be picked up for anybody interested in watching that. In 2012, Priebus allowed Mitt Romney's campaign when he was in Minnesota to manipulate the primaries and discouraged Ron Paul supporters. Do we classify that as politics as usual? Well, yes, it's politics as usual, but it is corrupt. It's not fair. But it was composed mostly of younger crowd, the Ron Paul's people, just cutting their teeth in politics, civil libertarians from participating in an obviously rigged system. So both sides, the elites, I don't want to necessarily say Republican and Democrats. I already know the Democrats have gone to the dark side. They have accepted socialism in all of its flavors. The Republicans still claim to be conservatives, but they do not follow the conservative platform. They're in it for themselves. They're in it for big government. And this is an example of big government, even at the previous election. Priebus humiliated Ron Paul supporters on the convention floor in Tampa, Florida, when Romney fell short on election night to Barack Obama, who received 3.6 million fewer votes than he did in 2008. Priebus was part of the GOP establishment that blamed Ron Paul supporters and the Tea Party for not turning out. Okay, you got to blame somebody, not themselves. That's what Hillary's doing now. She's blaming everybody but herself. Okay, so much for Reince Priebus. Just make a note, he is a big establishment, big government politician. He's never been elected anything but party chairmanships. The chief White House strategist is the former Breitbart executive, Steve Bannon. Now, Steve Bannon was a military officer in the Navy for many years, a very smart man. He served in the 80s, in the 1970s and the 80s. He ended his military career as special assistant to the chief of naval operations at the Pentagon. Special assistant means he makes the coffee in the morning and sharpens the admiral's pencils. Basically, is what that means. From there, when he left the Navy, he joined Goldman Sachs, the supplier of all our secretaries of the Treasury, as an investment banker. Then he joined with several Goldman Sachs colleagues to form an investment bank that specialized in media matters. So is there some possibility of collusion here? I'm just saying these things. Keep your minds open. Make a note of the fact that all these people have stringers following them down the road like toilet paper on the bottom of your heel. Just keep these things in mind. More on Steve Bannon. After a deal that sold Castle Rock Entertainment to Ted Turner, by the way, Bannon himself became a Hollywood mogul, producing and financing films, and was a founding member of Breitbart. I have no complaint with any of that. Any man who can get in a job and make some money at it, I'm for it. That's free enterprise, that's capitalism, that's the American way. Breitbart.com and Breitbart Radio align with conservative thought on immigration and American firsters. So that's a plus side for Steve Bannon. And I'm not against any of these people. I'm just laying out the facts that have been exposed, and they're laying there for anybody and everybody who wants to look at them to read and understand. But, there's always a but, Bannon's Pentagon stint when he was an officer aide to the Chief of Naval Operations, and Breitbart's fear-mongering over Muslims and their promotion of neocons like John Bolton and Rudy Giuliani should give conservatives and non-interventionists pause. I do not subscribe to that idea. I think John Bolton would make a great Secretary of State. I think Giuliani would make a great Secretary of State. But I see Giuliani, Rudy Giuliani, he's got a mark, he's made it, he's highly respected in America. And you know, his age, he might not want to sit in that chair and start disassembling the Department of State just because he's tired, like a lot of us are, who's been through the Cold War and the mill. We're tired. Maybe we don't want to do that kind of stuff. And maybe that would be Rudy's, because Rudy could have had it a long time ago if he just asked for it. Now we're going through this. I think Romney is out. Romney was so hateful against Trump that it could not possibly be that Romney could be the Secretary of State. Let's talk about Trump's pick for Attorney General, Senator Jeff Sessions of Alabama. Sessions, when he becomes Attorney General, will have a lot to say about illegal immigration and current immigration and how they are forced current immigration laws, which is good. That's what we want. That's why he's picked. But Sessions doesn't believe in privacy for you mountain people, and is a big promoter of the fake war on drugs. I have something to say on the fake war on drugs, or on the war on drugs, in one of my short takes. I might read it today or tomorrow. But Sessions, this summer, Sessions offered an amendment to the Electronic Communication Privacy Act reform bill that would bypass warrant requirements for assessing private data if the FBI deemed the information was needed for, quote, an emergency. The only emergency I could foresee is an emergency of national security. On that point and that point alone, I could agree with that assessment. I'm not against Sessions. I'm telling you this, but I'm for him, but he's dragging his baggage along with him. Also, last April, Sessions stated, and I read you a quote, "We need grown-ups in charge in Washington to say marijuana is not the kind of thing that ought to be legalized. It ought not be minimized. And that is, in fact, a very real danger." I will say more on that in my war on drugs issue. I am evolving myself in my years in law enforcement, particularly in the military. We did a lot of anti-drug stuff. I can talk about that. Marijuana was in the military, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Any amount of marijuana was deemed a felony, and a sailor could be kicked out of the Navy for it. And I'm speaking for the Navy. It also applied to Army, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard. But I worked for the Navy. And so you find just a couple of flakes in the guy's pocket. Well, that's prima facie evidence that he had a joint in there. So he was kicked out of the Navy. Then the military went into this mode of socializing marijuana users. Well, if we kick everybody out, we won't have anybody in the Navy. So they started sending these guys to rehabilitation programs, costly rehabilitation programs. You get no work out of the individual, nothing at all. He's not doing his MOS, but he's sitting around in a barracks listening to lectures on the evils of marijuana. Finally, we had a chief of naval operations who came in, and he had this motto: not on my ship, not on my watch, not in my Navy. Two things. You have two warnings if you're a sailor. Two warnings if you're a sailor about drug use. If you wear a brown suit, and that's chief petty officers and officers, you get no excuse. You have marijuana, you're out of the Navy immediately, your career is over. Well, some commanding officers at lower levels, they said, well, your first warning came when the chief of naval operations said you get 2 warnings. Don't use drugs. You use drugs one time, you're out. And very quickly, our drug problem disappeared in the Navy. It simply disappeared. We did not have a drug problem anymore because those people were kicked out of the Navy, and the Navy became a great force to work for. I enjoyed working. This is back in the 70s, in the 1970s. Well, anyway, I disagree with Brother Sessions on that, but as Attorney General, Sessions will likely target and destroy the budding marijuana industry springing up in the war on drugs, will grow, leading to increasingly militarized criminal organization as well as federal and local police forces. And now it's time for us to non-criminalize our sponsors and look about buying pizza and fixing cars. So time for our break, and we'll see you on the other side.
Pizza Hut makes great pizza, but they can't tell you what a gift it is. I can. They took a grilled cheese and combined it with stuffed crust pizza. To think, I almost wasn't here to try it.
How did you?
It's not important, Jan. What's important is that I watched the sunrise this morning. Then I got to stand in a room filled with this pizza. And later I'll stare at the ocean. Or maybe I'll learn Russian. Or listen to jazz. Or try my hand at needlework. Or open a door for a beautiful woman. Or read a human interest story, or make dessert wine. Or ride a wild horse. Or experiment with watercolors. Eat every slice like it's your last. Especially you, Doug. Especially Doug, right? You care about Doug. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one outpieces the Hut.
Circuit World, brand name merchandise at unbelievably low prices. Furniture, appliances, and electronics. Circuit World is locally owned and operated, serving the tri-state area. Circuit World has highly trained professionals to help. Visit your hometown Circuit World today. 3 locations in Georgia, Ellijay, Blue Ridge, and Blairsville, Franklin, and Murphy, North Carolina. No credit checks, so let Circuit World deliver to you today.
El Rey in Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated, and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey in Ellijay.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Better days ahead.
ahead. When Days Chevrolet in Jasper gives thanks, we give big. With over 20% off MSRP on remaining 2016 models and savings up to $10,000. New Silverado Crew Cabs from just $31,900. Or get 20% off MSRP plus days discounts on 2016 Malibus. Now just $18,900. Save up to $10,000 off MSRP today at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
Pizza Hut makes the best pizza in the entire universe, but they won't tell you that. I've been marooned on this planet for a while now. You are an impressive race. Your children know excellent hiding places. Your oceans aren't filled with lava. And you figured out how to combine a grilled cheese sandwich with a Pizza Hut pizza. Surely interstellar travel will soon follow, and then I can finally get back home. Round. Round like home. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza, proof that no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Well, welcome back. George McClellan at Georgia's Hour at FetcherNews.com, North Georgia's only live online internet TV talk show. And I finished the last segment with talking about Attorney General Jeff Sessions. He will likely target and destroy the budding marijuana industry springing up. And the war on drugs will continue, leading to increasingly militarized criminal organizations as well as federal and local police. And how interesting is that? Before I read that, I have already written one of my short takes, one of my essays on losing the war on drugs, which I will finish up read to you in the next segment. And it encompasses just the opposite of what this man thinks. So let's move on. I mentioned Ben Carson will be Housing and Urban Development Secretary. Ben's a wonderful man, but he has no executive experience by his own admission at that level. Human Health and Human Services Secretary, Representative Tom Price. A great choice. Leaves a space open here in Georgia for a new congressman, but and Tom Price was a vocal opponent of Obamacare. He is one of the few Republicans who put forth a plan, and most of that plan is in the hands of Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, with which to replace, and they can enact it almost immediately, the Unaffordable No Care Act. But think about it. His plan is a government solution rather than a free market one. And that's all I can say about it. It is a government solution rather than a free market one. In 2013, Price claimed his plan was designed to control costs, solve the problem of portability and pre-existing conditions, and improve the healthcare delivery structure. In other words, more central planning. And that's where plans go awry, is when government gets involved in the free market. The difference is it's a Republican plan rather than a Democrat central planning plan. Price is a longtime confidant of Paul Ryan, serving on his Jedi Council since 2008. I like that, the Jedi Council. Anyway, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao. To the appointment of Chao, we say, wow. I love it. Chao is the wife of Senate Minority Leader, and they call him a turtle, Mitch McConnell, and a former member of the cabinet of Bush, and Bush, the last Bush, as the labor secretary. She is a longtime Republican insider, former banker, serving at the Bank of America's Capital Markets Group, and she served with Citicorp. And after her stint under Bush on the board of directors of Wells Fargo, a large bank, mega bank, now recently exposed for padding their score, so to speak, creating false accounts. That has been taken care of, or is being taken care of internally, with the government attorney general watching. This was obviously nothing more than a bone to McConnell, her selection, and the bankster class to ensure Trump's cabinet picks sail through the Senate. That may be. We'll watch out for that. Nothing against Chao. She has no dark baggage clinging to her except her marriage to an idiot. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, a billionaire herself, from her and her husband created the sales program that was very lucrative. As a campaigner, Trump repeatedly said Common Core has been a total disaster and he would get rid of it if he landed in the White House. So he promptly named DeVos, Betsy, a staunch Common Core advocate, to head up the education department. Let's hope she has changed her mind. She says she has. DeVos claimed in a tweet following her nomination that she opposed Common Core. Well, that's a surprise, because DeVos was a board member of Jeb Bush's Common Core Supporting Education Foundation and one of his biggest donors. So just keep your mind on that. Keep your mind on that. She is closely aligned with Lamar Alexander, senator, who pushed a bill giving the federals greater control over local school board decisions. Well, who wants that? I want my decisions to come out of my local school board right here in this community. I don't need the Department of Education telling me or this community how the school should be run. It's not their job. And it's not even in the Constitution. Where'd that come from? Oh, Jimmy Carter, that's where it came from. She is closely aligned. Jeb Bush praised Trump's choice of DeVos, saying she was an outstanding pick. Former Michigan State Representative Tom McMillan told Truth in America Education that DeVos was one of the, quote, main leaders defending Common Core when he was fighting it in the legislature. In 2013, he said he knew she was strongly supportive of Common Core and high-stakes testing. Okay, there's several people who are saying that she's probably not the right pick if you want to get government out of education. Now, the problem here is one of Reagan's promises was to close down the Department of Education, and he couldn't do it. But he attacked it from the wrong way, I think. What the Secretary of Education should really do is just start defunding that organization from the top down, sending out pink slips, and let atrophy take over that. In 4 years, that organization can shrivel up and die because it doesn't have any money. Start getting rid of people that that don't even need a government job. Let them go back into the private community. A person with a PhD and is only an educator, if you can't do the job, then you teach the job. So that's what we have there. Another one I'd like to talk about. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, I hope I said that right. Trump's campaign national finance chairman. Mnuchin worked at Goldman Sachs for 17 years and then moved on to One West Bank, which got into legal troubles over home foreclosures during the 2008 crash. Now, in his defense, I will say the home closures was the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac disaster. They're both at the point of bankruptcy, and those two groups should absolutely be closed down. Government does not need to be loaning money to anybody. And they were dictating who got loans, and banks like One West Bank were forced to give loans to people who didn't have jobs because they were minorities or they were underprivileged or poor or some other thing. So I'll give him credit for that. At least he knows what happened. One judge overseeing his proceedings called the bank's tactics harsh, repugnant, and repulsive. We all know that. We all accept that. But that doesn't mean that Mnuchin actually was responsible for it. Mnuchin, like most bankers, and like Trump as well, have a history of political contributions to leftists, including Hillary Clinton. That's to pay for play. If you don't support Clinton, or didn't, you got no recognition whatsoever, and you'd be in the wilderness for a term. Former Goldman CEO and Treasury Secretary under Bush II, Hank Paulson, who helped engineer the bank bailout, applauded Mnuchin's nomination. In 2007, Paulson said the housing market was at or near the bottom and the economy was very healthy and robust. The next year, the Great Recession began and ushered in the era of Obama. Government playing with our money is one of the reasons why we had that recession. Let the economy take care of itself. It will. It's buy and sell. It's provide demand and supply, and as simple as that. Let me see, who's Wilbur Ross? Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, straight out of Rothschild, Inc. Rothschild, billionaire investor, specialist in leveraged and distressed buyouts, nothing wrong with that, and at making a killing of the Federal Reserve asset roller coaster, that's negative ETFs. I do that. That's part of my investment plan. I make some money at negative ETFs. Ross was a member of the Wall Street Society Kappa Beta Phi, which they call secret, made up of high-powered financial wizards. Maybe the swamp's not being drained after all, according to this writer. Perhaps does he go to Davos, Switzerland every year for that big conclave? I don't know. I'll have to look that one up. Other members of that secret society, the Kappa Beta Phi, include Robert Rubin, a familiar name, John Cozine, and he made off with $6 billion, this is sitting out there, of investors' money. John Whitehead, a graduate of Yale and Harvard, of course. Ross's net worth is about $2.9 billion, a longtime Trump friend who helped Trump hang on to his properties during the last crash. Got no problem with that. I have no problem with that. As long as there were not criminal proceedings, they can spend their money any way they want to save themselves anyway. They saved thousands of jobs, by the way. Trump vowed to drain the swamp. Did the voters understand that to mean replacing the swamp water with sewer water and alligators with crocodiles? Interesting take on that. It is evident, however, that Goldman Sachs will continue to run the U.S. government's treasury with an assist by the Council on Foreign Relations. The Council on Foreign Relations, we'll discuss that more in the future. But the more things change, it would appear, the more they stay the same. And that finances is a big problem that will occur in this country. And speaking of finances, it's time to pay for this hour. So we will go to a few words from our sponsors.
Pizza Hut makes great pizza, but they can't tell you what a gift it is. I can. They took a grilled cheese and combined it with stuffed crust pizza. To think, I almost wasn't here to try it.
How did you?
It's not important, Jan. What's important is that I watched the sunrise this morning. Then I got to stand in a room filled with this pizza. And later I'll stare at the ocean. Or maybe I'll learn Russian. Or listen to jazz. Or try my hand at needlework. Or open a door for a beautiful woman. Or read a human interest story or make dessert wine. Or ride a wild horse. Or experiment with watercolors. Eat every slice like it's your last. Especially you, Doug. Especially Doug, right? You care about Doug. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one outpieces the Hut.
Circuit World, brand name merchandise at unbelievably low prices. Furniture, appliances, and electronics. Circuit World is locally owned and operated, serving the tri-state area. Circuit World has highly trained professionals to help. Visit your hometown Circuit World today. 3 locations in Georgia, Ellijay, Blue Ridge, and Blairsville, Franklin, and Murphy, North Carolina. No credit checks, so let Circuit World deliver to you today.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Better days ahead.
When Days Chevrolet in Jasper gives thanks, we give big. With over 20% off MSRP on remaining 2016 models and savings up to $10,000. New Silverado crew cabs from just $31,900. Or get 20% off MSRP plus days discounts on 2016 Malibus. Now just $18,900. Save up to $10,000 off MSRP today at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
Pizza Hut makes the best pizza in the entire universe, but they won't tell you that. I've been marooned on this planet for a while now. You are an impressive race. Your children know excellent hiding places. Your oceans aren't filled with lava. And you figured out how to combine a grilled cheese sandwich with a Pizza Hut pizza. Surely interstellar travel will soon follow. And then I can finally get back home. Round. Round like home. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one out-pizzas the Hut.
Well, good morning. Welcome back to Georgia's Hour, the final segment at fetchingnews.com. This is North Georgia's only live internet talk show. George is on from 10 to 11, Monday through Thursday. And I'll be here tomorrow, and we'll continue the discussions. I wanted to talk about this marijuana business, and now is a good time as any to get to it. Jeff Sessions said, we need grown-ups in charge in Washington to say marijuana is not the kind of thing that ought to be legalized. It ought not to be minimized. That it is in fact a very real danger. I agree with the last part of that statement. It is said that he will probably target and destroy the budding marijuana industry. Okay, here is my take on that. And my essay is called Losing the War on Drugs. The push is on to legalize marijuana in America, and a few states have already complied with the demand. They are in violation of federal law, specifically the Harrison Narcotics Tax Act. The Harrison Narcotics Tax Act was approved by Congress on 17 December 1914, 102 years ago. It involved a special tax on all persons who produce, import, manufacture, compound, deal in, dispense, sell, distribute, or give away opium or coca leaves, their salts, derivatives, or preparations, and for other purposes, to include marijuana, State and communities who permit the growing, sale, and manufacturing of marijuana products do so in violation of this act. The Controlled Substance Act is Title II of the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act of 1970. It is the legal foundation upon which the government's fight against the abuse of drugs and other substances, in other words, the war on drugs, is waged. The Controlled Substance Act is the statute prescribing U.S. federal drug policy under which the manufacture, importation, possession, use, and distribution of certain substances is regulated in an effort to categorize related drugs based on their potential for abuse. And we call these the Schedule I drugs, Schedule II drugs, Schedule III drugs, how abusive they are. Here's where I take an exception. However, the war on drugs has exceeded its original intent, fostering the growth of organized crime, causing the militarization of our police departments that are now filling up our prisons with nonviolent offenders, as well as providing excuses for the unconstitutional confiscation of a person's money and property by the law enforcers. This action is unconstitutionally protected by law. Government grows on itself, and so long as a law exists allowing government to felonize simple marijuana use, the social fabric of America will be further weakened than it is today. 2, local police conducting actions contrary to the Fourth and the Fifth Amendments of the Constitution are basically moving away from their original mission, which is to protect and serve. The federal law enforcement bureaucracy has grown exponentially as a result, spending more and more of taxpayer money just to stay in business. Alarmed at the soaring cost of drug enforcement, states have allowed police departments to confiscate people's cash and property, often on manufactured pretext, so as to help defray the cost of the people's subjugation. They also buy tanks and armored recreational vehicles. The Harrison Narcotics Tax Act is, in fact, a tax act. It should be enforced that way. I see as a suitable enforcement solution an idea that utilizes the singular fact that it is a tax. For example, an officer stops a driver for erratic driving, and it turns out he is under the influence of marijuana. He's arrested. Same as a drunk driver besotted with alcohol, a legal substance, mind you. And he is taken to jail. That's normal procedure. Here's the enforcement difference. The arresting officer should also demand of the arrestee proof that he paid his tax. If he's got a bag of marijuana there should be a tax stamp on it. Lacking that proof, the offender would face an additional and separate offense, tax evasion, a job for the local tax department to work out. A drunk driver will have already paid tax on his bottle of alcohol, unless it's moonshine, of course. So why cannot this same enforcement action be applied to the marijuana user as well? They're going to use it. It's out there. It grows wild. It can be harvested by anybody in any place at any time. Jeff Sessions is not going to stamp it out. He's only going to increase the social problem. Finally, every police investigation into the growing of marijuana should include on the team the tax officer, not SWAT teams. It's time to think out of the box. This damn war on drugs is stealing away our rights and our liberties. They must be protected. Note, I only speak about marijuana, even though all evidence shows it does cause lasting harm on users' minds. But I'll speak more on this later. But remember, freedom is the goal and the Constitution is the way. That's my piece on, and I have evolved over the years, in 43 years in law enforcement, and I have evolved. I see no changes, nothing good coming out of the war on drugs. But I see bad coming out of the war on drugs. Now, importations across the border out of Mexico are occasioned by violent drug gangs, the M13 gang, for example. They're violent, and they're in our cities, and they kill people just so they can sell their drugs to our children. We need to think out of the box. The war on drugs, 102 years old, the Harrison narcotics tax, that's got to be reviewed and redone and brought up to modern standards. The Constitution doesn't. It fits, it works, and that's what we should be. That's what we should be using. But the mechanisms, they're out of control. And when our police department is out of control, they become a local Gestapo, and we cannot have that. We cannot have a peaceful America when that is happening. We've got too many other problems coming our way too. The Islam, the jihadists, and I'll talk about that and the relationship with our police as well in future shows. Let's consider what is going on here. The Harrison Tax Act is a tax act. It has nothing in there that allows the militarization of our police department. Government has no business selling armored vehicles, old military armored vehicles to police departments. We got to think out of the box. I've got 5 minutes. Last Friday, I talked about, and I want to finish it up now. In the few minutes I have, we talked about the blocking our highways. I mean, these losers who don't like Trump cannot accept that Trump won the nomination for president to be president, and so now they're taking their protests in college campuses, safe spaces, snowflakes, drawing cartoons and painting picture books. But let me finish up on that. What is to stop jihadists, for example, or leftists, bombing and breaking down our methods of travel, our supply routes, based on the premise that we right-wingers might set up IEDs using tannerite to terrorize road networks. That's what they're going to do. We don't do it. Our side doesn't do that. We've already seen something like this, but not from the right wing. The leftists are notorious for building human walls across major roads in order to shut them down. They will do this with increased frequency and violence come spring when winter winds die down. Leftists can't stand the cold, which is why they all live near beaches, and that's why the left and the left coast and the east coast have so many voters for Hillary in it. Communists like to disrupt supply chains and production. They know this is the quickest path to instigating mass panic. We already are alerted that the Muslims intend, the ISIS, or whoever's controlling that lot, intend to have mass demonstrations, bombings, killings in America on Trump's inauguration day. Now, if you haven't read that in the press, go to Jihad Watch on your internet. Sign up for that, and you'll be shocked about what's going on around the world with these people. That's where that news is. It could be argued that right-wingers, and that would be people who support the Constitution, might adopt the methods of ISIS in their bid to maintain supremacy, which is, well, we just did. We voted the communists out. Obama's shown the door. Hillary's become an alcoholic, if she wasn't already one, uncontrollable, which it is extraordinarily absurd that somebody would make a claim like that. If you know anything at all about conservatives, we do not rise up and burn down churches and shoot people. Every church that has been burnt by a person who is associated with that church, trying to make a statement, trying to make our side look bad. It goes on and on and on. But the left has shown time and again that their affinity for Islamic extremism, and they tend to openly defend it and publicly defend it. One would think that all social justice feminists and gay rights groups would view the Muslim world as a carnival of horrors, being that in almost any Muslim-controlled nation on the planet, they would be enslaved or precipitated from the rooftops of tall buildings, or they could be stoned to death But no, instead, leftists will champion mass Muslim immigration without even a second thought. And that's what Obama's doing. Trump's going to put an end to it. He said he would. Understand that forced Muslim immigration standards in Europe and in the U.S. are a product of global elitism and fall exactly under the Cloward Piven plan of Marxist inclusion. The elites like to use incompatible cultures as a tool to destabilize target societies. America is now targeted. The leftists are also more than happy to go along with this program because the left is inherently weak when it comes to direct confrontation, and many progressives secretly enjoy the idea of having their own hitmen, that would be Muslim extremists and Black Lives Matter types, on speed dial just in case. Who do you think is assassinating our policemen as they sit in their patrol cars at night on the street? It's not conservatives. It's not wild-eyed, rabid NRA holders. Nowhere, ever does that happen. And anyway, I've hit the end of my hour. It's 11 o'clock. You have a good day out there. Enjoy the rest of the rain that's coming. Go out and play in the rain if it doesn't get too cold. It's definitely not snowing. It's a great time to live in North Georgia. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 o'clock. This is George McClellan saying, go get 'em.